Hey folks, Mr. Dell here. We are looking at a problem that is interpreting an inequality. So taking an inequality and interpreting it to a real world situation and trying to find the values that work for that inequality. So this is coming from CPM, and this is course 2, CC2, and this is section 8.2.1, specifically number 839. So it says here, I'll read the problem. The recommended speed on a scenic road is 35 miles per hour. Driving too fast is a hazard, but so is driving too slow. Safe speeds may be described by the inequality. So safe speeds S, our variables S, may be described as the inequality. And here's how we read this inequality. Those right there are absolute value signs. So the absolute value of the quantity 35 minus S is less than or equal to 10. So the absolute value of the quantity 35 minus S is less than or equal to 10. Okay, so A says find and list at least 5 safe speeds. So let me rewrite my inequality. Absolute value of 35 minus S, absolute value there, not parenthesis, is less than or equal to 10. So it's absolute value. Remember, absolute value, what does that mean? It's the distance to 0. But really, in short, absolute value means anything that comes out of this is always positive. So I want to pick some numbers for S that work for this inequality. So let's just do a test. It's kind of a guess and check here. So we're going to kind of look at a guess and check table, if you will, for this question. I'm going to do some guessing, and then I'm going to check it and see if they work. So for example, if I pick 10 and I put 10 in for S, so I'm choosing for S, my check is, does it work? If I put in S, I get the absolute value of 35 minus 10. Is that less than or equal to 10? Well, 35 minus 10 is 25. Is the absolute value of 25 is 25, right? The positive 25. So the question is 25 less than or equal to 10? And no, it is not. So that's not going to work. So we got to pick numbers that will work. So let's pick a few. If I look at this one, how about 25? So if I choose 25, I can see that the absolute value of 35 minus 25, is that less than or equal to 10? That's how we're checking this. So 35 minus 25 is 10, and the absolute value of 10 is positive 10. So is positive 10 less than or equal to 10? It sure is, right? That one checks out. So 25 would work. So you can see we can continue picking numbers that work. And it wants me to list 5 safe speeds. So 25, I could even continue on and probably say at that point 26, right? So if I try 26, the absolute value of 35 minus 26, is that less than or equal to 10? So we'd look through this and we'd say, let's see, 35 minus 26 is 9, and it's the absolute value of 9, and the absolute value of 9 is 9, so 9 is less than or equal to 10. So yes, that checks out as well. So you could keep listing numbers. Probably 27 is going to work, 28, 29, right? All these numbers that are less than 35, and even 35, of course, right? 35 would be a safe value. A safe speed, because if you think about it, what is it? 35 minus 35, the absolute value of 35 minus 35, well, that equals 0. And the absolute value of 0 is 0, and 0 is less than or equal to 10. So yes, that checks as well too. So we could keep listing values. Anything in between 26 and 35 would work. So why do they give us this absolute value piece, right? Because of the speed limit, it says the speed limit is, if I go back to the original problem, where'd it go? Here we go. It says that the speed limit on the scenic road is 35. So I'm looking at these numbers are less than 35, right? 25 is less than 35. 26 is less than 35. That is the speed limit, 35. So this would be if you're driving slower, you can drive safely at those speeds slower based on my inequality. What about driving faster? Can I pick some numbers that would be faster than 35? For example, how about 40? Let's check 40. So here's how this works. The absolute value of 35 minus 40, okay, what is 35 minus 40? Well, you have a small minus a big. It's going to be a negative number. It's -5. So the absolute value of -5 is 5. So is 5 less than or equal to 10? It is. It checks out. So notice this is how those absolute value signs are important, because we're trying to pick also values that are greater than 35. And that absolute value makes us have that positive value to show less than 10. So you pick one more and then you'll have your 5 listed. But let's look at B real quick. Determine how, oops, got to get that in focus there. There we go. Determine how to show the entire set of possible value solutions for S by graphing them on a number line. So I want to figure out on a number line. So for part B, on a number line, what would be all the possible solutions? So we saw that 25 was a value, but with 24, could I go lower than 25? If I went 24, I'd have 35 minus 24 would be 11. And 11 is not going to be less than 10. So 25 is my lower limit. So say I choose my 0. I'm going to just pick some space, and right up here is 25. So we know that that's my lower limit, right? And it's going to be or equal to, right? So it's less than or equal to. So the or equal to says that 25 is, and we determined that by doing it here, 25 is a value. So I am going to color it in. So I want to find my upper limit. And then it's going to be everything in between. Notice we have 25, 26, and then you could go 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, all the way up to 35, right? And that was all subtracting to be less than 10. But then I started picking numbers greater than 35. And when you subtract, like this 40, you got a negative, but the absolute value changed its sign. So how high can I go and still yet have that value? Do you see it? I'm going to do it over here. If I pick 45 as my value, right? If I choose 45, let's look. So the absolute value of 35 minus 45 is that less than or equal to 10. Well, 35 minus 45, smaller minus a bigger, makes it a negative number. So it's negative 10. And then the absolute value of negative 10 is 10. So now I have positive 10. Is that less than or equal to 10? Sure enough, yes, because 10 does equal 10. So that would be a value that works. And that's going to be my upper limit, right? Because if I try to go up to 46, 46 is going to give me negative 11, and that would be too much. It would not be less than 10. So on my graph, 45, so right up here, I'll put 45 there, is my upper limit, and it is equal to it. So there you have it. So what do we determine? That all these numbers in between these two are also possible values, right? I could go 25, 26, 27. I can even go 26 and a half, right? I can choose half of mile per hour, but all of these values in between. So that's why the graph would look like this. I'd have my lower limit, my upper limit connected with the line to show all of that is what is equivalent to. It's the same thing as saying the equality of 35 minus S. Oops, the absolute value of 35 minus S is less than or equal to 10. So these are the values that work for that inequality. Okay, there you go.